Section here.
Oh, I know. I'll hide behind the sign, and then that's how you.
Oh, I like it. Little magic, little smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, look at
Oh,
me.
we should have gotten like some GLB ready to throw up there as like a smoke with like a smoke UV scroll or
Ah, I
something
should have had the particle effect. Yeah,
next
you're
time.
right.
All right. So thank you all for joining us. This is our second Hubs Creator Meetup. I'm really excited to introduce our presenter tonight. He is the founder of XP Portal. He's a contributor to WordPress, designer, streamer, self-described synth nerd, web publisher extraordinaire. So let's generate some emotes and warmly welcome our friend Anthony.
All right, now let me do a cheesy run in. Oh, and then we have music. The crowd goes wild, and then there we are.
Nice.
We need this is what we're going to build next time. We're gonna have like just full production value, right? Well, cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Burchell. Yeah, this is the behind-the-scenes talk on WordCamp Austin 2020. I'm so glad you're all able to join me here. This is, yeah, this is, hopefully this presentation holds up. Is everybody seeing that? Can I just get like a nod or anything if you can see the presentation? Because I did have some issues during the event where it would freeze. Cool, awesome. So about me, I am a WordPress core committer and I'm a media maintainer for the project. I've been working on WordPress since about 2014 and I've been using it since 2009. So that is the day job, and that is what I've been doing for the past, I guess, over 5 years now. I've been working on community stuff within WordPress. So I've just been completely focused on like relations with like other companies. I work for a hosting company called WP Engine, and that's the day job. But yeah, so I also built an AR music game called Broken Place AR. It's for iOS. It's just kind of my exploration into XR and sort of my first app. And I've been using Hubs Cloud since literally day one. I believe I was told by Greg in the early days that it was my instance was the very first one, and that was kind of cool. And yeah, I'm the co-founder of a managed Hubs Cloud platform called Experience Portal. And yeah, Experience Portal is a hosting platform built for just Mozilla Hubs. And on the roadmap, got some really cool things like CI/CD, copy instance, templates, basic auth, all those little things that you kind of do when you spin up a Hubs Cloud instance. All of these things exist as separate entities, but I'm trying to bring them into a control panel so people don't need to hit the command line to do them. So yeah, let's get into the meat of it. Oh yeah, great pro tip. Let me go ahead and say that out loud. You can hold your spacebar while hovering over my avatar to turn up the volume on my audio. I don't know if I'm loud enough there, but yeah. So for WordCamp Austin 2020, we decided to do things in many different platforms. So we chose to do Zoom for Speaker Green Room. This is where we organize people. We use Slack for keeping attendees informed and engaged, and that's sort of where we would post updates, or where we would post like room links or YouTube links, or wherever we wanted them to be. That was the source of truth. And we used YouTube Live as the primary experience, which meant that we wanted our attendees to be in YouTube a majority of the time, and to use Mozilla Hubs as sort of the networking layer. So that was what we call like the hallway track in our events. And just a little context of what a WordCamp is. WordCamps are regional conferences that are held all over the world. The WordPress community is amazing and very global and very big, like many tens of thousands of people. And these events are like our one time to get together, and there's a lot of people that kind of make a career of going event to event doing presentations, and I've been fortunate enough to have been doing that for a few years now. And yeah, so that's sort of kind of what the event is. It's just mainly a knowledge share, a place for knowledge share and networking. And of course, it takes a team. This is not a one-person event. This is not. It's not possible to throw a virtual event with one person. You need people to wrangle speakers, do auditioning or content review. You need design. You need live stream tech. We actually had an entire company dedicated to live streaming the videos, and that's really important because your videos are your content of your event. So you need to make sure those are very, very solid, because if Hubs goes down, you can't rely just on Hubs, or you can't rely on just like one platform. You need a backup. And this media company was really great because they were sharing also to Twitch and different like streams, so that just in case we needed a backup. And they also had like 2 YouTube live backups. And also you need web content, social, it just goes on. And there were many, many meetings. And I mentioned meetings because we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the venue was split out into 2 tracks. So on track 1 was where one live stream was, and track 2 is where the other live stream was. And we wanted everyone to start off in the hallway and network. It's very common in real life events that people will leave a talk a little bit early and walk into a hallway that looks very similar to this. I kind of made this as a joke because this space looks very much like a venue that a WordCamp would rent out. So yeah, so that's sort of the layout and what we wanted to do. In the bottom left corner, you'll notice there's a sign, and that sign is what they see when they enter. And the structure, that W was put there on purpose to force people to use the controls. As soon as somebody gets into the space, you want them to know that they can rotate and that they need to rotate. So the way that you started out was was done on purpose to kind of force you to use controls. So yeah, as I was saying, Hubs was not our primary experience. It was the secondary experience, and the reason for that is because it excels at the networking side of things, but it can also be distracting from the content. So it's nice to have as an option for balance. So yeah, we used it as our networking layer. It kept attendees engaged, and a lot of feedback said it felt like a game. So that's great. And yeah, so one thing that we were really particular about is we knew that Mozilla Hubs is going to cause a lot of buzz, and we didn't want it to be all of the focus leading up to the event. So we were pretty quiet about using Hubs early on, just because we didn't want that to be the only story told. The content is what's most important because that's what people are coming for, and the networking is also important, but I think people already know they're going to get that when they go to an event like this. They're going to be shocked when they see how well they can do it in Hubs. Another thing to keep in mind is for some folks, it's their first time experiencing 3D, and some people just don't like it, but they will like it for a small amount of time, which is great. Like the average user was in the room for about 6 minutes at a time. And they are typically very happy about that. The audience varied in age and backgrounds. We had people from all over the world attending. It was really interesting. But yeah, it's best to minimize the pressure of being there only virtually, and that's why we made this the secondary experience. It's really important also to help people ahead of the event. So we made a video in the week leading up to the big day that showed just tool tips on how to walk around, how to mute somebody, who to report a problem attendee to. And we're really fortunate in WordPress that we have a code of conduct that's pretty well understood, and the community is already built. So everyone has that understanding going in, but it's important to note you should probably call out code of conduct in this sort of a video. So yeah, so it also it sets those expectations ahead of time. Another thing that worked out really well for us was helping users the second they enter. So as you noticed in this experience or in this room, there's a sign as you enter that will always be in view of the participant. And that's just good so that you can have some kind of visual feedback, because people don't like to pay attention to pop-ups. I know I don't. And I know I don't because I will film screen recordings of Hubs, and I'll always look at it like days later and see that I've got all of these pop-ups like you need to grant permissions to stream video or something like that I could have dismissed and made a way cooler recording, or I could have hit a key to dismiss it all, whatever. But the point is that you kind of want to make that as easy as possible. So yeah, so force them to use the controls as I mentioned earlier. I made them walk around the sculpture. That was very handy. Keeping it small is also important. I took a B on the unique materials, but that was because we had so many visuals that we needed to display, like what the room name was, who the sponsor logos were another material. So it was just like every image ended up being another material, and I got pretty heavy. But we were able to keep triangles down, and that was with a lot of Blender decimation. And with these stats here, I was able to run on a MacBook Pro without a graphics card, or at least a beefy graphics card, and I was getting 20 frames per second. Actually, I have that machine running right now, and it's getting 30, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so I did receive reports that fans were running pretty hot, and I suspect that is because of the number of attendees. So that's another thing to consider with your room sizes. You may want to cap them out at a smaller number if you want to make sure it runs better for everyone. And yeah, I believe this is part of accessibility. You want people from all over the world to join, and we did find that. We found people from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, India. They were all over coming to see it. And also, one thing to note there is the audio latency was not bad. There was none that I could find. So that's cool. Yeah, so I mentioned organizing and using the space to organize is a really good way to have free user testing, and also it's just really productive, we found. So we would do very similar to how I'm presenting my screen now. We would share our Google Sheets that had sort of our to-do list, and we would go down the list, and everyone like just had a sense of presence in a room, and we were very focused in our work, and that was super exciting. Some modeling tips: make your entire space a single object. I think a lot of people have been saying that, but it's really important to get as much as you can in there. So like graphics, if you notice at the start of this room, there's a poster that kind of has the event details. That was done in Blender, not in Hubs. So put those images in Blender so that you can export that out as a single object. So that's the only thing being tracked. Let your design and brand assets be the high-res graphics, and just stretch out everything you can for the structure. I think people are really forgiving for the structural stuff. You'll notice like the carpet below you is extremely stretched out. And that's like probably a 1024 by 1024 pixel image. And use those high-res textures for just your brand, or just the things that really make your experience pop, I guess. And yeah, so another thing that I found was really handy is when you're exporting your GLTF file, the binary from Blender, make sure you check the JPEG format. I just find that it doesn't make a lot of sense to use PNGs. If you're going to do a JPEG or a PNG, like get an SVG of whatever shape you're trying to make, and just stamp that into a JPEG instead of using like a transparent JPEG. I just find I get really bad performance with those. So quick iteration with iPad and Affinity, that was pretty awesome. I was using an iPad to do all of like the UV map, like the textures. I would export them out from Blender and then just use the iPad to draw with like a pencil and have like real feedback. And it was really fast with Google Drive. So anytime I would make a change, I would just upload it, and that's the file that was referenced in the Blender file, and it would just update, and things were magic. Auto captioning, as you see here, we have I have a dedicated computer right now that is piping Hub's room audio to the web captioner, and this same computer shares screen into Hub's, displaying the live caption, which you're seeing right now. I don't think it does a good enough job, but I do think that if you're having an event, accessibility is very important, and making any effort to just add to the accessibility of the baseline that Hub's sets you off with. Is what you need to do. It just shows that the event cares. Any videos that you make also prior to the event, when we did our tip video, those were also captioned. Make sure to include accessibility at all times. So the way I did this was with a with a website called webcaptioner.com. So I used the MacBook Pro to monitor its own system audio, and it's piping that to OBS. And right now, that same MacBook is streaming to Twitch while doing the captioning. So it's really cool that you can kind of make a dual purpose participant. Yeah, so restrict your Hub's features. I think that goes without saying. You kind of need to take some things out that might confuse the experience, and that's where, in your planning with the organizers, have people in the room, organizing in the room, so that they can say, well, why do I need that share icon? That share icon is we're never going to use the share. We're going to direct people from the Slack room. So rip that UI out. They don't need a favorite rooms. There's only going to be 3 rooms for our event. Stuff like that kind of refines the experience and makes it to where people don't have feature overload, because it can be overwhelming, especially for people that are experiencing 3D for the first time. So yeah, hide that confusing UI. Here's a screenshot of exactly what it looked like. Removed a lot of things, and it just looked a lot cleaner. I kind of made the chat box a lot more less wide, and that helped to not take over the entire screen when people were trying to like view captions or things like that. You can hide it with CSS. I did that. It's not bad. Like it's funny because I come from the WordPress world where everyone says like you cannot edit core WordPress code. You should have a plugin to do that. But with this event, like Hubs is so new right now, the extendability part is still kind of being invented by all of us. So it's okay to do things with CSS. It's okay to just rip out UI components. Yeah, some of that stuff is being enqueued, but you can still get away. Like the important thing is the experience for your users, not so much how clean you did it. Especially given the fact that like our event, we only did it for one day. In that instance, I reverted it to where you're in right now. So you only need it for a day or two, or if you're having a week-long event, whatever. Customize your emoji. This is really fun. If you hit the spacebar right now, you'll notice that we have a Wapuu emoji. This was requested a day before the event. Somebody was like, "Hey, I want a Wapuu emoji when I'm in it," and I'm happy to tell you it's super easy. If you look here, I hope that's big enough to see. You can zoom in if you want. But all you really need to do is replace those GLB files. They're just numbers. They're not named happy emoji or anything like that. So if you replace those files with whatever you want there, it will put it in place of the default emoji. So give them what they want. Give them emoji. Another thing that was really nice for us was we had a pre-event. In real life WordCamps, we usually have a speaker sponsor dinner where everyone gets together and has food or drinks or whatever, and they kind of network ahead of the event. And we do those for a number of reasons. One, it gets hyped because they all go back to their hotel room and they tweet about it, or they post pictures of all of their friends all together, and it's usually the influencers of the industry. So we kept the tradition alive, and we met prior to the event in Hubs, and this also gave like our speakers a chance to use the software, and it gave them a chance to kind of brag about being in it ahead of time. We saw that definitely happen organically, and Jim from Hubs was even there to help take our picture. So thanks, Jim, for that picture. We had 40 participants at one time at the after party. It was really insane. It felt like a tidal wave of people were coming in at me, and I had like 10 minutes to scale the server up, and I didn't. I chose to just leave it alone, and I'll go into what the sizes were in just a moment. But we had 40 people playing or observing Kahoot. And Kahoot is like a web game where you have to pull out your cell phone, and your cell phone is like a secondary device to enter your answer for the question that displays on screen. You can do things like that, and I think I encourage people to think of ways to not build in the code, but build with like screen sharing. Like that right there took no code and no real, just human coordination. So prior to the game, we had to scale a server up because we got an influx of people, and we started seeing mic quality kind of fizzle out, and it was starting to get really, really bad. So I just updated the template in real time, and I'm sad to say it did crash, but it was a good crash because I think everyone needed just a reset. The instance had been running. Some people had been in there for like 4 hours straight. Like there was so much, I don't know what was going on, but I think we all needed a refresh, and that's all it was. But I scaled the server up to an XL, and it seemed to clear things up. We didn't have any more mic issues, and we were able to do the Kahoot game just like we wanted. So yeah, you can scale it live. In my experience, it kicked everyone out, but I just did this a little while ago with 3 participants in the room. Prior to this event, I scaled up, and it did not kick everybody out. So still don't know what caused that. And I'm still kind of uncertain if it was necessary. I kind of feel like if everyone would have refreshed, it might have been okay, but I still just felt like I needed to upgrade the instance. It just makes you sleep better or make you feel a little bit better. And it was really funny prior to that because I was running around the room just telling everyone, I'm so sorry, and they had no clue that the server was about to explode on them. So that was kind of funny. So our instance size was a C4 large. We were holding 25 concurrent users all day, with 10 in the overflow room at peak. So our room limit was, I think, 35 people. So from 9 a.m. to 6, we were at that level, and then we scaled up to an XL at 6 p.m. for a 2-hour after party with 35 in one room and 15 in another room. Oh, and a tip on getting people into room number 2. I found that just people don't want to go into the second room because they feel like they're missing all of the experience. So a trick is to find the influencer in the room and tell them go to room number 2, because everyone will follow them. So that's a good way to split your audience. Yeah. So speaking of all of those sizing details, the cost was pretty minimal. It was $25 for the day. And but that's not the entire cost of the event. The entire cost of the event was around, I'd say, $140, because it took a month to put it together and have an instance live, and then it took a month to kind of get ready for the event. And that came out to $70 a month, roughly. And then we're still in October, so I'll let you know how it goes. But that for just that one day, it was $25. So I can't complain. I encourage everyone to experiment. So I really wanted to try something new. So I built a Unity app to do animations on the custom video geometry that you see around me. And the way I did that is I did not use Unity Live. I have done that in the past, but what I find is the audio is out of sync with whatever your media is. Like a video media especially, you'll never see the voice happen at the same time, and it looks really awkward when somebody's playing guitar and it's just not synced. So instead of doing it real time, you can use Unity's built-in recorder. They have a built-in recorder that you can download to create movie files. And you can put those movie files in OBS as separate scenes and just change scene to trigger the next. And what you do is we use YouTube Live as our streaming service. That was what was being synced onto the wall. So we were able to do really cool visuals, and it was just basically just UV mapped Unity app. So yeah, so what I did is I was staying in a room in our kind of our green room, and I was waiting for the all clear from the event organizers, and they said, yeah, like kick the music on, we're ready. And all I had to do is change scene, and the moment it worked. So for the custom video geometry, it requires 2 things. You need a custom spoke, and you need a custom hubs client. And it's very similar to WordPress. It's kind of funny because WordPress recently has gone to a more JavaScript-focused editor. And what that means is now we have to manage an editor version of things and a front-end version of things, and that's no different here. The custom spoke client, think of that as your editor. You need to save certain custom elements so that they can be interpreted with the front end. So yeah, oh, another thing to keep in mind also with geometry is you can make an entire scene have geometry and custom map like all of your UV to like video. So if you wanted to have, let's say, lights that are strobing to the music out in the hallway, you could just make an object out there, part of the same screen object that's flashing in the hallway. So you can kind of unify your spaces that way. So for the custom spoke, you may notice, I'm sorry if it's too small, but in the bottom right-hand corner, there's options under the video element to select different geometry types. So I've named them banner screen, performance screen, logo screen. And you'll see above my head, there's the XP logo. That is a separate geometry. That is a separate object from the screen itself below. You can combine them as well to do like just one video if you wanted to, but I was kind of in a hurry. And here's the code that you need to add to get that custom geometry and spoke. I'm going to post these slides so you don't really have to zoom too much in, but you can see it's just not a lot. You really just need to have add the option for an extra geometry. I named mine banner. And then in the conditions under the audio source class, I believe it's an audio source class. Sorry, it's hard to read this. But anyway, you can just add a condition for that case and then tell it to load some custom geometry. And you can use the GLTF loader that is a component or a utility, I think, in Hubs, and that'll load it in for you. So that was the spoke client. You do need to upload a custom spoke client, or you need to deploy a custom spoke client. And what you can do is it's almost a one-for-one copy of the deploy.js script. You can copy that over into the scripts folder of spoke. You may need a little bit of tweaking on that to get the deploy to work, but it's a bit of a two-step process. In Hubs, you need to run npm run login and then copy over your credentials. I think it's ret.credentials. You need to copy that over to the Spoke folder so that when you run npm run deploy from Spoke, it references those credentials and then pushes it up. It's a bit confusing. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to get very easy soon. I've seen some PRs already open on that. So yeah, you, as well as a custom Spoke client, you need the custom Hubs client to interpret that custom geometry. So if I were to do nothing with this, you would see a flat plane load the image, or I'm sorry, the video. So you would not see custom geometry if I created the custom Spoke. So it errors gracefully. That's nice to know, but you need to add a case for that projection type. So you'll see at the bottom here, projection type equals banner dash screen. In there, I run a function called fetch banners, which is an async function that just gets a source URL of the GLB and loads that model into the result. I will also share this code. It's just not clean yet, so I will do that very soon. For avatars, we had a very diverse selection, but we didn't have a lot of options in terms of like eye color and clothing and things like that. Like in hair was very, very limited. But that was kind of on purpose because avatars can get really intense, especially for a live event where people may have a computer that can't handle all of those triangles. I found that Rhiannon Berry's avatar customizer was insanely good at doing this because each one of those is like 500 kilobytes and like I think 700 triangles, something like that. But the point of this is keep it simple. People love Animal Crossing because you can kind of, it's very stylized. And I think that these kind of remind me of Animal Crossing. And I think people can kind of find their closest representation here. So yeah, I'll have a link in here so that you can use this. But what's really great about this is that it's basically just a little JavaScript app that loads to your local machine, and you're not destroying somebody's server to make your avatars. So use that. Branded homepages are really nice because you get the opportunity to direct people to what rooms they need to be in. We only had 3 rooms. It was the hallway 1 and then 2 overflow rooms. And we named the hallway 1 with a caption in the name so that people were aware that captioning was available in that room. And then we left instructions in that centerpiece. And it doesn't take a lot of code to customize that. You'll see right here, this is all it took to customize that homepage, aside from some CSS to do background colors. But a majority of what you need to get to there is in the Hub's admin theme settings. Be sure to capture the moment. This is what my setup looked like the day of. It was chaos, and I think I had 4 machines logged into Hubs at all times. One of them was a moderator in the second room. Another one was the caption bot. Another one was just me in the room. And I think we had I can't remember what the other one was for. So yeah, my setup was pretty sweet, but honestly, I hit the limitations of that Alienware that you see there. The i7 in that machine really, really underperformed when I started doing OBS, and I started having actually 2 instances of OBS. I was trying to show off, I guess, but having 2 instances of OBS was killing the CPU. So I upgraded, and tonight I'm running on, oh, I guess I can't show you, but I'm running on, I had a photo of my setup tonight, but I'm basically running that same setup for this event because it just takes a lot of power to do things like the captioning and be able to stream from that. You need a graphics card and a processor that can handle that. So it's not yet accessible to throw events, but also like not everyone is throwing events in real life. So it does take some kind of specialty equipment. And some common feedback that I got about the event was there was a sense of presence that they had never felt in 3D. So that was really cool. There were a lot of people that have never played a cooperative game in 3D. And they kind of felt like they were doing this. Like common feedback that I was getting from people, they would walk up to me, they said they had a great time, and they're like, all right, back to real work. And this is like the same person that was like networking in the hallway with some of like the biggest influencers in the industry. And I'm like, you were doing real work. They just don't feel like it. So we saw an equal amount of views and engagement on YouTube Live as we did in Hubs, which means we succeeded at not making Hubs a primary experience and getting people to YouTube where we wanted them to be asking questions. And there were things like the chat was going in through YouTube for questions. That was the only place you could ask a question. So we didn't want people in Hubs missing that opportunity to be part of the event. So yeah, I think we saw around 400 people. I think it was about 250 unique visitors inside of the space and 400 and something visits. So everyone came back a second time. So that was really nice to see. That's exactly what we wanted. So yeah, that's all I got for it. So last night I put this together, and this is my first time kind of reflecting on the event. So yeah, thanks for letting me talk. I'm gonna put a video on really quick. I made an 11-hour time lapse of what it took to build the space. So I'm just gonna run that, and yeah, we'll go there. I can do QA. Need a drink. Any questions? And you'll see this is the same space here. And one thing I did with Blender is kept the colors in like the left right corners, or I mean not left right corner, the left bottom corner. Point at the video and press F. I didn't know you could do that. Oh,
Yay, we're
amazing.
learning.
Yeah. Hey, I'm getting
That's
off
one
the
of
stage.
the secret hidden controls that we have.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I was playing around with a lot of like WordPress logos and branding and things like that. Yeah, feel free to get on the stage. Presentation mode is turned off.
And thank you, Anthony. We do a little applause here. Applause, 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 applause.
Oh, that's so great.
That was awesome. I actually I'm so happy because I learned quite a bit from watching you speak about your experience building in Hubs, and it's rare that I go to something and learn more about the platform, but I learned quite a bit actually. I didn't know how to replace the emojis either, so I'm looking forward to have that in my skill set.
You know what's funny? I was so against changing the emoji. I was like, no, we can't change anything. No code changes day before the event. And what's funny is I stayed up until 6 a.m. doing deploys, and the event started at 8 or 7:30 really. So I went home and I was just like, I can do that. I think I can change those emojis. And yeah, two file changes in a deploy.
And I recall seeing on Twitter too that the WAPU, the being in there was something that people found very joyful.
It was a hit. Yeah, they really wanted it. And the other thing is, like, I got to get rid of the mad emoji. There's no mad emojis at our events.
Yeah, it's been an internal debate whether we should have that there or not, but every now and then it comes super handy.
That's the one to replace. Yeah, it was really interesting trying to find branding opportunities, and I was streaming this through Twitch and kind of getting interaction with people, and that was kind of nice, keeping me entertained. But it took a lot more than 11 hours to build the space. I know it's not the most intricate space, but it was a lot of the time was spent just trying to make sure it was optimized. That was really hard.
Can I ask what influenced the design of the space?
Yeah, so it was very much influenced by the kind of events or the kind of venues that WordPress just rents in general. There's always this kind of cross. You got a theater on one room or on one side, a theater on the other, and then a hallway in the middle to kind of mingle in. And that's where you get booths set up and people just kind of doing games and all kinds of stuff like that. And we found a lot of the same behavior happening, and that was sort of the thought behind the design, is that everyone will kind of just do the same thing that they would do at the normal events, and it proved it worked. And also one thing that's nice that isn't really super noticeable, but the carpet, the purple, it's not at the moment, but that is your indicator where the volume drops off. In this instance right now, it's not customized. There's nothing crazy happening in here that's going to limit volume, but the volume, what I mean by that is the live stream in YouTube, that volume was dropped off, and that was your visual indicator that you were no longer going to be hearing it. I found though that it was, it's just the purple carpet.
Yeah.
Once you get off the purple carpet, that won't happen right now because the event's not happening. But actually, I'm going to switch the scene in just a second to the WordCamp space.
Okay, that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah. So we're going to do that actually right now. So let me put a message in the room. And we found that people were really disoriented by that. So yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of a boost in the volume because of where I put the spawn points, or the volume. The whole world is in a spot it shouldn't be.
Cool.
Yeah, I really like the space. You did a great job on it.
Thank you.
I was kind of floored when I don't remember how I got access to it in the first place. You must have messaged me with it, but like it's so cool. It reminds me of being at like actual conferences, but better because it's better decorated.
Yeah, you can actually paint the walls.
Yeah. And these actually I want to know more about these video screens. Like how did you build that out? And actually before you do answer that, is this going to be included on the Twitch stream? I just want to make sure because I bet that other people might want to know about that too. And I don't know where the video is.
Yeah, actually, let's make this our area to hang out because there will be no volume in here, and I'm going to put the captioner in here as well because I want to make sure that that's
Nice.
also.
Yeah, because I know that I have people ask all the time about how to do kind of nothing quite as advanced as what you did, but I'd love to be able to share this with them.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave the space open. The space is now paying for itself finally, so. How's that? Let me make sure that the caption bot is getting that just right.
Okay.
So on that last one, did you have the main screen like within the scene, and then you pulled up this screen share? This is a screen share, right, or not?
Yes. So the captioning is a screen share. I'm using webcaptioner.com, and what it does is it monitors your sound card. And what you have to do with the Mac, it's really hard to monitor your audio. So what I did is I used this iShowU. That's what it's called, iShowU. Audio capture, and you won't be able to hear anything through your speakers, but it'll be rerouting the audio into itself so that you can send it to the captioner.
Got it.
I found that to be such a drag to set up. I've got iShowU on my. There used to be another one called Soundflower or something, and for whatever reason, I found that it was way easier to use. The iShowU one, it seems kind of more complicated.
Is nice in theory, but it's just not hard. It's really hard to configure. People are just not happy with that.
So were you mentioning that the carpet was just kind of signifying the distance of the audio, or what were you talking about? I didn't really get it.
For the rooms, yeah, the carpet, as soon as you walk into one of these rooms, it'll get loud on the carpet. So.
Yeah, I thought you had something set up where it would like know where the audio is coming from, and the floor color would like be like a heat map almost.
That's actually a pretty cool idea, though.
Yeah, that's actually a good call out. But what's cool about Hubs in its current state is you can do a lot of this stuff with just visuals. Like if you wanted to make, let's say that you wanted to make a corner of your room have like a captioning and everything set up, you can set a bubble on the floor or put an image on the floor that shows where that drop off is, so that people know stay in this area if you're having a conversation, so that everyone can be included or that sort of thing. It's just a matter of giving the right visual indicators until we have really cool spiffy interaction mechanics. But that's another day.
That'd be interesting to put to create all the avatars with a almost like a very light shade of gray or something, like a circle or something, and then you could match that size to the distance of whatever you set the audio for avatars.
Yeah, or occlude, make them look like a certain color until you can see them, so that you have an indicator that they're now speakable or hearable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges with hubs right now, I find personally, and I think a few other people on my team too. Like it depends on how sound sensitive you are, but like yeah, it can be hard to not know exactly like how far your audio is going right now, and like I would like to see there be like some sort of audio bubble or something, so you could sort of seal yourself off a little bit more from other folks. So it's definitely something that I would like to see improved, and the team also has been considering that as well.
It would be nice to have a master volume for audiences also.
There is, you can turn up and down the volume of people if you go to your preferences. So in the drop-down menu in preferences, there's audio control, and you can change everyone's voice and all the media volume. So if you wanted the media to be quieter, for example, than humans' voices.
All right. All right. Yeah. But is there something like I just organized an event where there was like awards being given out. So we had the audience quiet when they were reading out the awards, but then everyone to shout when it was announced. And that's really tricky. Then you want this kind of slider where you can just very quickly turn.
Yeah, like a mixer, or even just being able to have like one thing that we've seen is like a demand for, and some people have set this up like a loudspeaker mode, so that one person would be like louder than everyone. There wouldn't be the spatialized audio with them. They would just be like in your ear.
Right.
Can I ask about that? Can I ask about that particularly? Is that something that's set up already, or is that custom?
It's not. Someone did build one. We just saw it actually last Friday. It was the Magical Crypto Friends conference.
Yeah, I went to that,
Yeah. So they had that set up, although I think it gave them a little bit of a challenge at the start when we first got there. But yeah, they'd set up room sharding and louds so that people would get automatically routed to different rooms, and they'd also set up like a loudspeaker mode so that the speaker would be audible to everyone in every room, and without the spatialized audio.
Okay.
One thing that worked really well in the event that I didn't mention, we limited fly mode and all of the things that people wanted to do until the very last performer finished at the after party, and that's when all the rules and all the safeguards went down, and everyone loved that. That was like some people's favorite moment of the entire day was when they got fly mode, and I've got some videos of it. It's just funny. You got people that are running around and they're just going meow, meow, and they're like using the spatial audio. It was so cool. But the important thing there is you've got to limit it. You got to build the hype about fly mode, and people will have a great time at the end.
And I noticed you didn't have in here. You said at maximum there was 40 people.
Yeah, 40 people
in the room
actually,
at one time.
It was 35, and then the overflow of 5 in the lobby. So that was
okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had thought about having more stadium seating instead of just a flat floor for looking at all of this.
There's actually a good reason for the flat floor. For folks that may have like visual impairment.
I'm just saying for like, people will get in front of you, and so I didn't know if you had thought about.
And that's actually a good idea, like
seating.
making it sloped or like a hill or something. But the main reason that I made it a flat floor was so that you could at least get around without having to know about stairs and things like that to get to the different places. And people could use the spatial audio to kind of be guided to where the stuff was happening.
And to avoid nav mesh nightmares.
Hey, I think we got everyone kind of gathered around here and we set up the streaming. I don't know if you got a chance to, I don't think I caught you saying it, but the video screens, can you just kind of walk through? I know that you talked a little bit more about that like on your Twitter feed and stuff, but like, can you walk through what that process was like?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was talking about with the custom spoke instance. That was what was most hard about those. But I downloaded those models actually off of a like CG Trader or some kind of model trader website, and the assets were like $5, and I stripped them down. They were like 3 million polygons when I started, and I stripped it down to just those LED panels because that was all that was really important to me.
Mhm.
And I started playing around with like videos like what was it? I had like cartoon characters running around from left to right, and that was sort of the inspiration there, is like making people understand that the video screen is a living thing that, you know, that characters can move around in, and that's why everyone loved the Wapoo. And then that was our opportunity for branding as well. So the interesting kind of video sculpture would bring people in, and then that was our opportunity to expose the sponsors. It was pretty difficult, honestly, figuring out how to get the front end to render it correctly. The back end spoke actually took a couple hours of fiddling around with the code. It was just a few lines. But when I actually got into the front end rendering, it took me days of just slamming my head into a keyboard before it finally rendered correctly. And part of that was actually due to a bunch of errors that were unrelated. So classic programming. They were due to like course errors and things like that. And it ended up being that I just needed to run a fresh deploy and everything would have been back to normal. But yeah, it was a learning experience.
You mentioned you had like almost a whole team.
Yeah. Oh, did your audio cut out? I think we lost you.
Yeah, looks like.
And
Alex, your audio cut out there for a second.
I was just saying, I was asking him about his how he went about streaming for the event, because he said he had almost a whole dedicated team for that.
Yeah, they were streaming. I believe the name is Blaze Media, or not the Blaze Media news company, but I think they go by the name Blaze. Yeah, they were handling the YouTube streams. Yeah, they were handling the YouTube streams, and that's where that was coming from. They were, from my end, I actually did do the after party stream. So the after party was live musicians, and those were coming from my home computer. My internet somehow held up. But as far as like the amount of people behind that, it was many. It was over 15 organizers and then volunteers as well that helped put on the event. So it was very much a big team.
So you used YouTube for like your main viewing screen?
Yes, we did.
You didn't worry about it being blocked by people?
No, because we weren't using any audio that was or any kind of copyright material. So we had live musicians. Yeah.
You weren't looking at the videos though inside of Hubs though, right? That was like separate?
No, they were in Hubs.
They were in Hubs. Okay, wow.
Well, that's what I was asking about.
So you probably wouldn't have been blocked because there would have been so many fewer people looking, because this isn't on hubs.mozilla.com, and it's ours that gets blocked from YouTube because there's so many different people that are trying to access YouTube on it.
Yeah, okay. And also I don't know I think if you are streaming YouTube live into a space, it's only one view that's happening, right?
I think that it might be for everyone, that it's separate. I think.
Oh, so it's a separate stream for each?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
I just didn't know if you had a backup plan for if YouTube didn't stream inside Hubs.
The backup plan was going to be a Raspberry Pi, but that was going to be...
You're going to use that as your server?
Yeah, That was actually the backup plan, but
Okay.
YouTube was holding up.
Okay.
We didn't hit over 500 unique requests for the live streams in here, so it was okay. I think we're starting to
Okay.
find the limits, right?
YouTube used to be
Yeah.
really solid on hubs.mozilla.com as well, but once COVID hit, it was like that's when we started to
right.
really hit the limits because we just our usership went up so much at that point.
And that's something that I'm hoping to build on top of the product that I'm offering is like some kind of streaming service that people can spin up on their own AWS account maybe. Hey, Bimo. So Bimo is here. He is co-founder of the company that we started, XP Portal. And he was lead
Hello.
organizer of WordCamp.
Hey, how's it
So
going?
yeah.
Hello, how are everyone?
Hey, BMO.
Great.
Yeah.
Learning lots.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, so hey Bimo, did you know that the YouTube stream could have cut out at any time for us?
No, I did not. It's a good thing the hub was the secondary location.
Yeah, that's what kept it down, I think. If we would have done main, I think that would have definitely been, because we were seeing hundreds on that stream, so it would have been it would have been noticed. It would have been a blip maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not. I wouldn't say it's a Mozilla-sized blip. That's for sure. I wonder what that limit is. Like, I don't know how we find that, but I want to find that. Particularly not with a paying client, though. Volunteer work.
You mentioned that your attendees on average were in the room for approximately 6 minutes. How
Yes.
did you determine that?
Yeah, so Google Analytics, I just used basic analytics, and it was able to get page sessions and an average of those page sessions. Google Analytics, it was working a little weird for me with a custom client. So what you need to do, what I found that I needed to do was when you enter your ID in the admin, you need to run a fresh deploy from your local. Even though you made like a change on the live instance, you need to make a deploy from your local, because what your local does is it calls for that ID and it builds your client with that ID put in the right place and with the flag turned off to allow Google Analytics.
But you were able to determine that they were in this particular room?
That was average session size through Google Analytics. So, you can see when somebody is left or like how long they stayed on the page.
For me, whenever I was testing Google Analytics, it would really only tell me when they were on the main page. And even if I was still in the room and I hadn't left, it would cut out. Like it would say there's nobody live. Whenever I was watching the real-time viewer, like all I did was just plug in. I don't have a custom client or anything. I just did the Hubs Cloud. I put in the Google Analytics, and if you were in the room still talking and doing whatever, it would eventually say that nobody was in the room.
Oh. Okay, so that's what I found as well, and that's why I needed to do the local deploy. So you need, in my case, I don't know if it's patched already. I think it is patched, but in my case, I needed to run a deploy from local. Even though it's even in your case, it didn't need to be a custom client. It just needed to deploy. That's part of the deploy script, is to take your Google Analytic, your ID, and append that and make that actually production ready. So you may not have actually been getting any results through Google Analytics.
That's a good one. Yeah, I meant to ask you about the analytics.
Yeah, that was me panicking the day before the event. I had to figure it out. And it was just a deploy, and everything started magically working. And I was doing the same thing you were doing, watching the real time, and I wasn't seeing anything. And I was actually testing with people, and it wasn't getting any.
I was getting me, but only for like a minute, and then it would cut out.
Interesting.
So
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd like to. That's something that a lot of people are definitely interested in, seeing like how long somebody's in a room.
So yeah, I was mostly concerned with seeing the number of visitors, and I don't really trust that metric of how long they were here, because there were some people that were also leaving their headset on all day, or their thing all day. So that could have been really skewing the data, especially with so few people.
Mm-hmm.
So take it with a grain of salt. The magic number is, hey, thanks for coming, Elgin.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've got to jump out, but it was really nice seeing you all, and thank you so much for the awesome presentation. That was great.
Great. See you tomorrow,
Bye.
Elgin.
Thank you, Elgin.
Bye. Oh my God, the voice changes. Awful. Yeah, really great, actually. Also, was that the Hubs Creative? That was like right in my head, too. Oh, that woke me up. Okay, bye, folks.
Bye. Yeah, so the most important metric to me was the number of people. So that was it for me. As long as we were able to prove that enough people were there, that was what we wanted.
Got it. And you didn't do anything special. You just put in your Google Analytics ID into the Hubs Cloud admin section, and that was it.
And then I ran a deploy after doing that.
I mean, I guess I'm not sure what you mean by when you say
a deploy. So
locally.
Locally, so what you need to do is download Hubs, like clone the repo down to your local environment, to your computer, and you need to run a command, a login command. And what that does is that sends the login email to you and establishes your credentials on your machine. And then you have to run another command to deploy it. I think this is temporary. I think this is actually just a bug, so it'll probably be fixed very soon. But if you want to get around it, you can have somebody just run that one command, and it should go. It should work.
Okay, well, we'll play around with that, I guess. Have you had any? Are you running your email through Amazon, or what are you running Hubs through?
Amazon. So this is AWS. We're right now on a large
Okay.
instance, and I'm not doing anything too
Are you
special with
running
the
your
email. I'm using
through
default.
the default Amazon simple email service?
Because we're not doing login. This is a public space, and we were doing only login for our organizers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even for that, have you noticed that those confirmation emails? So, but you're still using simple email service, right?
Yes. What you need to do, you need to send a ticket to AWS and request that they take you out of the sandbox. Are you in that?
They took me out of the sandbox, so I'm able to receive the emails. But the emails on average are taking about 4 to 5 minutes to get.
I've never seen that, and I've done it with 3 instances now, so I think that might be. What region is that in?
I think my Amazon thing is set up in like maybe east or something. I'm not sure.
Okay, so if it's east, that's where I've been running mine.
But I'm getting consistently 4 to 5 minutes to get this email.
Oof, that's not good. So okay,
yeah, I posted the question in the group, but we'll see if anybody else.
Have you run a template update recently? Like maybe run a template update.
Run a template update. So just like
hit update and change the size of your instance to like maybe a smaller one, and then change it back up or larger if you want it to be. But maybe try and just kick it.
I've made some change. I've made the change of like the pausing the database thing. So, and then I've changed it back. So if that's what or you really think I need to change the size of the server?
No, not the size. I mean more so just like reboot things. The other thing you can do is go into EC2 for AWS and just terminate the server, and it'll rebuild another one.
The audio cut out.
Oh, sorry. If you terminate the server, you should be able to. It'll reboot itself.
Wait, sorry. I gotta read this. So.
Yeah. Actually, are you on the Discord? I can send you instructions so you don't do the wrong thing, because there is a wrong way to do it, and it might bust everything.
Yeah, I'm on the Hubs group.
So yeah, so look for my username, the name that's hovering above my head.
Yep.
That's me on Discord. Send me a PM, and I'll try and help you through that.
Cool. Okay, because I was like, oh crap, do I need to switch to like Syndex or another email service? But I'd rather not.
Yeah, totally. Hopefully Actually, let's do a GitHub discussion. That's probably the best place to do it so that we can share it with everybody. But post the link there and I can try and help you through it.
Post the
And-
link.
Into
Anthony-
the GitHub
sorry.
discussions. Yeah, what's up?
Oh yeah, I just want to thank you again for just being such a gracious host and having us all over to show us everything. And I'm gonna get going, but we got the next meetup on Tuesday. We have some face painting that we're going to be doing, and then we have another one on the following Thursday.
Nice.
So hopefully I'll see some of you guys over there.
Are
And,
these still at 11 o'clock?
yeah, there's one.
Or sorry, 9 a.m. your time?
Yeah, I checked the. I have it. It's in Pacific time. It's static Pacific time on the Meetup.
Yep.
But yes, you can double check there because I don't. Everybody is all over the place.
Yep.
But yeah. All right.
Very cool.
So thanks everybody.
Thanks for the invite. See you.
We'll see you.
Bye, y'all. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the
Thank you
Twitch
for
stream as
Creator
well.
Bot.
So, yep.
Sorry.
Thanks, Creator Bot.